And we are live, everybody. Once again, Liberty Speakeasy from the Libertarian Party of Iowa is right here tonight, live. As always, with me is the amazing, wonderful Myra Matejka, without the cat filter. I was really hoping that you would have a cat filter on tonight, Myra.
I couldn't figure it out. I don't know how. I don't know how to turn on the cat filter.
Well, next time we're going to work on that. We're going to get you on there with the cat filter. Dan, Taxation, Seth Behrman is also on our show, our guest co-host tonight. He's running for governor down in Texas. And of course, he ran for president from the Libertarian Party candidate this last spring. Dan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty awesome. Thanks. Thanks for having me on. Glad to be here.
Absolutely.
It's good to be back in Iowa.
Well, and I know we always would love to have you on here. And this is your second time on the show. You were on I believe, our Independence Day special back in July. I believe you were on there with Governor Wildstar. So it's great to have you back on our show again. And we have a lot of fun.
And now it's a Valentine's special.
Oh, I never even thought about that. We should have had a love theme going on here. But
had a love theme.
I guess cat filter.
We're talking about some poetry.
Will have to suffice.
I have a Valentine's Day poem. Roses are red, violets. I totally said violence. Where is this going? Roses are red. You can tell how much I do poetry. Roses are red, violets are blue. Taxation is theft. Inflation is too.
Oh, that is fantastic. Good work.
Straight to the heart.
Oh, yeah. Well, everybody who's watching, if you have any questions for Dan, for Myra, or for myself, put it in the chat. Let us know. Comment on YouTube or Facebook. You'll be able to comment, and we'll be able to see it live here. So I want to go in right off the bat, Dan, and talk about how are things going for you. I know you're going down to Texas here.
It's going up.
Up to Texas. And for clarification for everybody who is unaware, Dan, maybe explain your whole situation of where you are and how you're running for governor and what the whole, I guess, situation is for you there.
Right. Am I still a legal American? Am I still legally running for office? So I'm a resident of Texas. I am a Texan. I was born in Los Angeles and I got to Texas as fast as I could.
I've been spending of the other Californians are right now.
Yeah, except those are Californians. They're not Texans. I was a Texan born in a Californian's body. Yeah, so I've been spending a lot of time down here in Mexico. I'm on a really long vacation. I have to check my passport stamp. I might be an illegal alien at this point. I gotta check that just by like a few days. But
there should be a wall.
Yeah, but I'm gonna fly right over it anyway. So actually, no, that's not true. I'm gonna walk across the bridge. So, but yeah, I've been spending a lot of time down here. And you know, it's an educational experience. I think there's so many different ways I could write it off to make it legal to still run for governor of Texas. But there's really so much that I'm getting out of this. One is nice weather, which is good for my health. So it's a healthy vacation, good mental health. But also, just learning how they do things down here is really amazing because, it's not a perfect system. But there's a lot to learn and we can learn from each other. And I think that's, I've learned a lot from Mexico that would actually help make the United States more free and more prosperous at the same time. So I think that's really awesome.
Outstanding. Well,
beaches and mojitos. So can't complain about that.
Exactly. Well, and I think it's awesome that you're able to do that, and I know Texas is going to have would definitely benefit from having you in the role, no doubt about it. Just speaking with you at our convention last year and everything along those lines would be fantastic. So I think it would be great for you in that regards. Myra, as far as questions go, we'll kind of dive right into some of the topics that we have discussed. Myra, I know you had a couple topics to go over.
Well, I think one of the hot topics that everybody is discussing right now is the shortage of vaccines. And I have been reading about this, and there are some people who seem to think that the shortage might be an inflated shortage to increase demand, to make more people want to have the vaccine because it's in short supply. What are our thoughts on that?
I don't care if it was the last vaccine on Earth, I wouldn't take it. It's I don't want to discourage other people from taking it if that's what you want to do. I'm not one of those type of people that says, "Oh, you're crazy if you take it." It's risky. It's new. We don't know the long-term effects. It hasn't been around for more than a few months. So nobody's taken it and then gone on for 6 months to see what the actual effects are going to be. And that's part of the danger. They rushed it through the approval process. It's now they're telling us it's safe, which, fun fact, if you look in the dictionary, the word safe says free from risk, as if like there's no danger at all. But when the FDA calls it safe, what they really mean is there's just not a very good chance that you're going to get harmed from this.
Well, what they really mean is the FDA is free from risk, right?
Yeah, and so is the manufacturer in this case. Yeah. So it's, there's that. But yeah, I'm sure there's market manipulation going on. We see that all the time with everything. Actually, this rally that I'm holding next week is because of that. There's an artificial scarcity of insulin, which is, that's something that people have been using for years and we know is much safer for sure because people have used it for years and we know the outcome. But we see these market manipulations going on all the time. And it's really scary, especially when it comes to our health, that this is able to happen. And a lot of this comes from, let's look at this, right? We've got only certain manufacturers. We saw, I don't know too much of the details, but I know that we did see there were different companies who were manufacturing their vaccine. They work different ways. And then there was some favoritism over who got approved by the FDA first. And so, if you had all of these companies that were racing to create a better product or just to bring it to market, if they were all able to fairly bring it to market, we'd have multiple companies ramping up manufacturing in multiple different plants, and we'd probably have the entire demand met. But unfortunately, we have a government that's restricting our right to make our own decisions for ourselves, while feeding us false information. I guess that's a different subject for another day, but yeah, it doesn't need to be this way.
So do you think the scarcity is real or do you think it's manufactured?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I don't know if one company has the capacity to manufacture enough for the demand, but I do know that there are other companies that are being prohibited from manufacturing at all. So yeah, absolutely. Even if it would only, add 20, 30, 40% to the supply, that's artificial scarcity. And I don't know. That's the world we live in with government.
Exactly. And that's what it comes down to is government regulation and them trying to, they have their favorites. They have a, cronyism that's going to happen on that end. They have their favorites like Pfizer or whatnot that maybe have a step above some of these other people. As far as being able to get that to that free market aspect, I know that it took a long time for these to be able to actually go out to the market. Where, I think Trump promised a month or two back in March of 2020, and they didn't come out until October. Where could that free market have gone? What could we have done if the government was not intruding in at that point back in March to be able to get us to this point?
Oh, man. So many things would be different. We'd have tests, which we just talked about this before the show a little bit. There was, from what I understand, the home tests were just approved by the FDA, but you need to get a prescription. So first you have to go to the doctor's office, which is where you used to go to get your test in the first place. Then you have to pay him probably a couple $100 and get a prescription and then go buy the test and then take it home. And it's like, what's the point of all this? It's just extra nonsense. And they even put what was interesting, and don't quote me on this. I did get this from a very good source, but I'm not that close to the issue. So just in case I misspeak, That's my disclaimer there. From what I understand, so I know this for sure. The original tests, and the reason like so many tests were coming back positive was it's not like, yes, you have it, no, you don't. There's a scale, and based on the shade of the scale, we can only guess if you have it or not. If it's dark, you definitely have it. If it's light, you definitely don't have it. But anywhere in between, there's no certainty. And so what they did was they said, okay, we're going to take this point, we're going to move it all the way over here so that it looks like more people have it, because we would rather have people think they have it than to have people think they don't have it and they actually do, right? So I can see some reasoning to that, but that's what they did. They didn't really tell anybody about it, right? Everybody just knew, oh, I have it or I don't. Well, these home tests, which we had been talking about in the libertarian circle for a long time, since the beginning of this thing back in March, and there was a manufacturer, I think, who was even on one of the libertarian podcasts holding up his product, talking about it. Libertarians were getting these and testing them on themselves. Apparently, these things weren't accurate enough, and the FDA forced them to, hey, if you want this product to go to market, it has to be absolutely positive, yes or no. No gray area in between. So they already put a much harder guideline on these things to get them approved. And then finally, once they get approved, they're just trying to keep them out of our hands. Why are they trying to do that? That doesn't make any sense. And so there's definitely some fraud going on there. And then, fast forward to the vaccines, fast forward to the cure. And I know you're not supposed to use the word cure, right? That's like prohibited. Nothing is a cure. Like in medicine, like that's a bad word. You're not even supposed to say that. Because unless it works 100% of the time, it's not a cure, according to the FDA, and you can get sued over that, which is also bullshit, but whatever. So hydroxychloroquine, and there's another couple antiviral medicines that have been around for years. We know the effects of these things. When I went to Uganda a couple of years ago, they gave me hydroxychloroquine as a precaution, right? Like candy, like here, on your 3 days before you come back, start taking these, and then take them for a week after you get back. That's it. Like, there's no harm, right? It's not like, oh, only take these if you get sick. It was, no, just take them anyway, just in case, right? That's how dangerous these things are. And this is the one that everyone was telling, Trump was like, oh yeah, apparently this does really great against the virus. And then everyone was saying like, oh no, it's going to kill you. People are going to take this and die. And then you have doctors who were out there saying, no, this actually works. And this and another one or two antiviral medications that have been on the market for years that we know are really, really safe. And all of this has been going on, and these other doctors have been silenced. They've been banned from Twitter. They've been banned from, and these are doctors who are not your doctor that you go to down the street to get your physical exam, because that doctor doesn't spend any time in a lab. He just does whatever he gets from whatever comes down the line from the FDA and the AMA and like the magazines that he reads and newsletters and that sort of thing. He's not in a lab doing research. But the doctors who are in the labs doing research saying, hey, this stuff can work, or they're prescribing hydroxychloroquine and saying, hey, we're having amazing results with this, right? The people who are telling you, no, you don't want to take that, I'm not going to prescribe that for you, are the people who never prescribed it to anybody and never tried it, so they don't even know whether it's going to work or not. And I just think it's really amazing that like everyone's saying like, trust the science, but science is not the first conclusion that you jump to. Science is you have a discussion, somebody comes up with an idea. Einstein apparently was wrong about his theory of relativity, and everyone thought that was science for like 50 years. And then like a few years ago, they're like, oh no, actually we found a way to disprove that.
Well, I think the whole idea of science is that you're supposed to question the things that are around you. Like
yes, and you learn more, and
right.
and new things are discovered.
That's the whole premise of science, is to ask questions.
Absolutely, and so that's been taken away from us, and so medicine is no longer science now. It's whoever's in charge is going to tell you what medication to take and what to do if you get sick. Which, by the way, like, do any of you guys know what you're supposed to do if you get COVID? I mean, they're telling us like how not to get it, right? Wash your hands for 30 minutes every hour and like put a mask on, and like
So
Or two.
if you get it, you're supposed to go get tested, and then they tell you to go home
And that's it.
and wait. And that's the cure for COVID is so even if you don't go get tested, if you just stayed home and you felt bad at home, unless you need to have an ambulance.
This is what's interesting.
It's the exact same thing.
I had Dr. Mary Ruert on my show right when this virus was just coming out, and we had some of these discussions. What can you do? And I thought this eventually would be everywhere, right? Because they were determining this thing, right? They were trying to know how long can it survive in the air on its own. Mm-hmm. Are the masks, can it fit through a mask? Like that's when they were trying to figure all this stuff out. And one of the things that they found out was that the virus can't survive in temperatures more than it was 110 degrees or something like that. Not very hot. So I was discussing with Dr. Mary Ruert, a doctor who actually spent time in labs researching medicines and things, not prescribing them, testing them, seeing how they work in petri dishes. And she said, yeah, so if this is the case, then basically using a vaporizer where you it makes the steam and you breathe it, that's going to help because it's going to go into your lungs, into your trachea, and it's going to kill the virus. Not all of it if it's in your bloodstream, but it's going to kill a lot of it, which means your body can focus on the other parts. Smoking, which remember when it first came out, they said, oh, we're going to ban all the vape shops. We're going to shut all this stuff down. Can't sell cigarettes, all these other things. Turns out smoking helps kill the virus. Now, it's not like you want to prescribe cigarettes if you get COVID, but it's
should I take that up
No,
now?
no, absolutely not. But yeah, you might get your COVID cured and then you get lung cancer instead. But that's not the point. The point is that the government tries to just make this one size fits all plan and say, oh, we know exactly what we're doing. And they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. And there's so many different ways this could have gone. And it's a deadly virus that's going around. I'm not going to say nobody would have died from it if the government did nothing, but the government needs to, if anything, make sure we have access to the correct information, truthful information, or at least access to the dialogue between two sides of what are just hypotheses at that point, because we don't know for sure yet. And allow us to make decisions for ourselves and trust the doctors that we want to trust. I don't want to trust the doctor who's in the cabinet of Donald Trump. I want to trust the doctor who's, I don't know, maybe a friend of a friend or, whatever. That's my choice.
I think that somebody absolutely knows. Somebody knows. I think that we're just being not told what somebody knows. I think that the people who get coronavirus might have lifelong problems from it. I think it's a disease that might travel with them for a long time. And because of that, I don't want to contract it. And I also don't want the vaccine because of that. Somebody knows something that I don't know. And I don't want to wait 10 years to find out that the people who thought they knew something, they were wrong, right?
Right.
I'm okay in my house.
Yeah. And see, and that's the thing. If you're afraid of the virus and you want to stay in your house and you want to avoid other people, that's fine. That doesn't mean the business down the street has to close because you're not going to go there even if it's open.
Right.
And that's exactly what I mean about being able to make your own decisions and having access to the correct information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Kind of shifting gears a little bit here from the coronavirus to another major subject that's has made headlines over the last year or so, racism and exactly how it should be handled. I know that there was a tweet that you had had a decent discussion with Nick Sarwark, former Libertarian chairman for the National Party. He mentioned how if you are friends with a racist, you should end that right there. You came back with saying maybe not necessarily in a relationship, but try to help them and try to inspire them to be different and to try to grow as a person. So I want to kind of bring that up here as well. I know this happened a couple of weeks ago, but it really started making headlines, at least in the libertarian circles, over the last few days. So I kind of want to give you the opportunity to speak to that and go from there.
Yeah, I think I actually, the way I responded to it, I think I kind of opened it up to more than just racism, but I said something to the effect of, if I stopped talking to everybody I had a disagreement with, then nothing would ever change. This is really important. And let me tell a story that I tell all the time. I was in an airport and I was just sitting there. I don't know how, maybe I had a Ron Paul shirt on or something, but I just started talking to this guy. And like the next thing you know, we're like, yeah, in the Fed and, all this stuff. And then at some point he was like, yeah, and it's all the Jews. And I was like, whoa, hold on there, buddy. Now I could have been like, oh, you fucking anti-Semite, get out of here. I'm done talking to you or punched him in the face or something, right? Instead, what I told him was, well, hey, I mean, we agreed on everything until like just now, but I'm actually Jewish and we're on the same side. And that's all I had to say. And he was just like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And I don't know if he went home and he was still like, has these like anti-Semitic beliefs, or if he's like, oh no, I actually met a Jew and they're really not like these weird demons that are running around messing with the banking system. I mean, there are weird demons running around messing with the banking system, but they may or may not be Jewish, and it's not because they're Jewish. Yeah. But it's like that type of change we can see in people. There was I've seen black men going to Klan rallies and telling them, how much he appreciates them and giving them hugs and like all this kind of stuff. I saw there was a protest where it was like, a bunch of kids who were all, not kids, but like young people who were pissed off and rioting. And you had what do they call them? The Proud Boys. And there was a black guy going around just hugging people. And like some of these like racist white guys just started breaking down and crying like, oh my God, people can change. The racism comes from, it comes from ignorance. It comes from not having ever met somebody who is like something else. And when you live in a community where it's like all, completely homogenous to one race, whether it's white or black or Asian or anything else, you start to create stereotypes of based on the media, based on TV and all these other things of what people are like. And especially when Hollywood portrays a lot of black people in movies as always the drug dealer or, the gangster or these types of things, that doesn't help. But when people are introduced to new ideas and they see like, oh, wait, this person's black and they don't fit the stereotype and they're not mad at me for being a racist, right? They're not coming at me like, hey, I want to fight you. Then like, oh, see, because as soon as you do that, then it's like, oh, this person wants to fight. See, all the stereotypes have proven correct. And you have these conversations and it just introduces people. And it doesn't always happen overnight or like in the snap of a finger, but it does happen and these things do change. But if we isolate ourselves from each other, then it never, ever changes. And we're just kind of like creating these bubbles where all of these false beliefs about other people exist. So we have to open that up. And that's one thing I've been pressuring libertarians to, since we're talking about libertarians here, since this is a libertarian show, is to break that echo chamber and get outside, talk to Democrats, talk to Republicans, and don't just come at them and tell them you're wrong. Because most of their policies are wrong. I know I said that more directly than I'm telling you to say it. But if you have these conversations and you really get it, like, okay, forget about the policies. What are you after? What do you want? What do you want your life to be like? You'll actually find out that a lot of these people really just want freedom. They want security, financial security, that sort of thing. And when you find that common ground, then you can start to talk about issues. Well, did you know that the government is the reason you don't have that freedom? And that's where you can really start to build and work with these people and build friendships and relationships that actually change minds and change the way that people think. Ultimately it's all going to go towards liberty because that's the ultimate truth. That's the way everything goes.
We actually had one of those situations happen right here in Iowa when Spike Cohn was on the Jorgensen bus, and he made his first appearance in Des Moines. And it was fantastic because we had the Proud Boys out. And whatever you believe about the Proud Boys, they were remarkable. But, you know, a man with a long gun was standing in a downtrodden neighborhood in Des Moines, and it made people uncomfortable. And a pastor who lived across the street came out and he said, I would like you to put your gun away. It's making people uncomfortable. We don't like this. And they had an honest conversation about your rights and about the Second Amendment. And within probably 40 minutes of these two people that you would never put together in a conversation, even if you tried, it would never happen. It was totally by happenstance. They were discussing issues and they were taking pictures with their guns the next second. And they were in unity and agreeing. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
Those conversations need to be had.
Yeah. And it can go two ways, right? Some guy comes out and says, hey, can you put your gun away? And he can ask nicely, or he can demand, or, let's say he asks nicely and then the guy with the gun says, no, it's my right. Screw you.
Right.
It could go that way.
Exactly what he didn't do.
Yeah, exactly. Or it could go, well, hey, we're actually friends. I'm on your side. I'm here to protect you. Like I'm here for your safety. Let me explain to you how this works. And then you start that conversation, and that's exactly how it goes. We need to understand, the 99% versus the 1% thing is kind of a bogus argument, but at the same time, it is kind of true. Most of the public, the general, the people, it's not about wealth. It's not about money. But most of the people are that 99%, and the 1% are not necessarily the wealthy. Those are the corrupt, powerful people who want to use government to control us and force us to behave certain ways and do certain things so that they can have power, which ultimately they're probably going to use to get wealthy in a really bad way. But like we need to learn that division. Like just because we look different, just because we have different hobbies, just because we're a member of a different political group, does not make us enemies. And actually, I would make this distinction. Instead of when you meet somebody, instead of asking them if they're a Democrat or a Republican to find out, where you guys stand with each other, ask them if they are a voter or if they are a corrupt politician. No, they're probably not going to admit the second one, but that's where the real division lies.
Well, and that kind of goes into my next topic. I actually had an editorial published here locally in our Des Moines Register newspaper just today, where I essentially brought up that exact same topic, where we have people that are being so divisive, and it's based on party politics and tribalism. And one thing that I said, that how are we going to fix this? We have to be willing to listen rather than speak. But we also have to be able to be objective, not only to opposite parties, but internally as well. Because in the end, we're all Americans. We're all the employers of those people in Washington, or at the State House, or even locally. So I think it's important that we do that. My son stealing some chips. Apparently, he's still hungry even after dinner. But how do we go about trying to erase that divide right now? And one of the comments that I saw on my post about the editorial was, this is a great idea. We need to do this, but how do we convince people to actually step outside of their party lines and get involved and try to lead by example? Because Lord knows the politicians, they're not the leading by examples. That's a poor example of what we're seeing right now. So how do we go about doing that?
Right. Well, I think the most important thing is to understand what people are looking for. And most people are looking for answers. When they go to the Democrat Party, they're trying to solve problems of, there's not enough healthcare, there's too much poverty. How do we solve these problems? And the Democrats are usually the ones saying, oh, we'll fix that. The Republicans are usually the ones saying, oh, the government's too big, we'll fix that. The taxes are too high, we'll fix that. And of course, neither side has any intention of ever actually really fixing those problems, but they'll tell you. And that's how they get people's attention, so that they get the votes, so that they can get into power and they get to control, the $1 trillion budget and all this other stuff. What we need to do is, as libertarians, historically, we've kind of had a habit of telling people, don't let them solve your problem. Don't let them solve your problem. And it's like, to any normal person, it's like, but I want my problem solved. And so instead, what we have to do is we have to stop saying that, and we have to start coming up with the solutions ourselves. As we always say, like, the individuals or the free market can provide better solutions than the government. Just start doing that. And you don't even have to implement them. Just start coming up with the plans at least and sharing these ideas. And then once you find an idea that starts catching on with Democrats and Republicans, then you can actually probably find some people to back it up and start implementing it. And that's really I've got this one that I've been pushing for a long time called free healthcare, which is very attractive to the Democrats because they're like, oh, finally, he's going to fix the healthcare system. And Republicans are usually at first like, that sounds gross. But then, because they're thinking like, oh, that sounds like socialism. We're going to have to pay taxes to pay for it. But really what it is it's freeing healthcare from government control. And so the Democrats are happy because, the price is going to come down. Bonus. The billionaires aren't going to be making their crazy profits, right? Not only am I going to be able to afford it, but these crazy evil rich people aren't going to be making their evil rich money. And then the Republicans are going to say, oh, wow, that's great. These people aren't going to be trying to steal from my paycheck anymore. And we'll have smaller government. And also, because Republicans need healthcare as well, they're also going to be saving money on their healthcare. It's a win-win for everybody except for the politicians and big pharma. And these are the type of solutions that once you come up with these, you can tell them to anybody and they're like, yeah, that's amazing. There's no reason not to like it. And except for the politicians, of course, because one, they're going to lose power. And they realize that, if not only are they going to lose the power and the control over the market, but if enough people are demanding this, they're going to lose power as politicians because people are going to stop turning to them for answers and realize that the government and these politicians were never the answer in the first place. And that's probably what those people are afraid of the most.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of times they realize that the politicians manufactured those problems to begin with. So there's no problems for me to solve. Let me make something up, right?
Let me shake up the puzzle box so we can solve it again.
When was the last time a politician ever sat in front of you and said, everything's great, so let me just keep it that way?
Right. Well, there was that town that elected a cat for mayor like 3 or 4 terms in a row. So
not a cat. A cat that was just on Zoom when it was an actual cat on.
It was not the lawyer cat. No.
Not a cat filter cat, just a real cat.
No. You mentioned the free healthcare aspect. You have an event that's coming up here very soon down in Texas where you're going to be rolling out your campaign at the State House. A lot of that is revolving around the free healthcare. And you mentioned a little bit earlier as far as insulin and everything along those lines. What exactly is going to be happening with that, and what kind of turnout do you expect? How would you plan on rolling that out? And have you had a lot of good feedback so far from it?
Yeah, absolutely. So everybody's loving this because we're normally in the United States, people will pay $100 for a pen of insulin, and in Mexico, you walk across the border and you get it for $12. And it's manufactured. It costs like $3 to manufacture it. And, the whole thing is like, well, why is it 12 in Mexico and 100 in the United States? And it's just the laws. It's illegal for me. I'm down here in Mexico right now. It would be illegal for me to set up an online store and start buying, insulin pens and mailing them one by one to whoever places an order for $12. That would be illegal. It would be illegal for me to fill up a truck and drive it across into the United States. And sell it. But of course, that's not exactly what we're doing.
Not harmful, but illegal.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, this is, and I found out today, apparently like some people do take insulin to like for weight loss or for going to the gym to like stimulate muscle growth or something. I just learned that today. But what's interesting about that is in Mexico, there is no prescription to buy insulin. You can just walk into a pharmacy and buy it. And so if people were going to abuse it on, you know, like to the point where they do like every other drug that's out there, like Vicodin and all these other drugs that, you know, as much as Vicodin is a controlled substance, or crack or heroin or any of these other things, people still get it. It's still all over there, even though it's illegal. You don't hear anything about anybody abusing insulin where it's extremely easy to get and cheaper than crack. So, you know, that's not a problem. So why do they treat it like a controlled substance? Why do they treat it like heroin or anything else? It's outrageous, especially when this is a life-saving medication. And the reason they do is because that's how they keep the prices high. And this is something I really want to emphasize, because I know a lot of people, they hear this like, yeah, but what kind of insulin do you get in Mexico? Only $12? Like, that's probably like some cheap knockoff brand and it's not good stuff. No, that's actually what happens is there's a company that manufactures it in the United States. They export it to Mexico where they sell it for $12, and they sell the exact same stuff off the exact same line in the United States for $100. That's just how it works. And, you know, it's because there's 47 companies worldwide that manufacture insulin. Only 3 of them are allowed to sell in the United States. The others, they'd never be able to make back what it would cost them to get FDA approved. And that's there for a reason. The 3 companies in the United States make sure that the FDA does not approve anybody else, because some guy comes in and says, hey, I can sell you insulin for $12. Everybody else is going to be like, why am I paying $100 over here? They don't want that. They want to protect their profits. And that's exactly what government's doing. They say they're protecting us from bad medicine. No, they're protecting us from a free market and low prices.
So I have a question about that though, too. Like, how much of that is our insurance companies? Because insurance companies want to get a cut from your doctor's prescription, from you going to the pharmacy, and from their pharmaceutical prescription. Like, if it only costs them $12 up front, the $100 has to cover a lot of people's paychecks, I assume.
Right. Well, so there's a lot to it. It's a big, complicated system, and this is a cartel. But So yes, obviously, if insurance companies are paying for this, they'd like to see lower prices. Usually what insurance companies do is, first of all, they bake in the price. So if they're going to pay $100, they're just going to charge you $100 for it. And if it's subsidized from the government, then they're going to, you know, take any kind of tax bailouts and everything else they can. So at the end of the day, look at the bottom line for these corporations. And, you know, there's 34 million people with diabetes in the United States. And if even half of them need to spend $100 a month, that's let's say 20 million times $10. That's $200 million a month. I just totally screwed that math up. 20 million times $100 is $2 billion a month. And minus the $3 that it costs to produce it, that's a lot of money. And if they have to reduce their prices by 88%, they're going to lose a lot of money. And yeah, there's some little incentives here and there. Somebody was telling me they only pay $30 at Walmart, and that's either through some sort of an offset that the government is paying for it with tax money, or, you know, something's going, or insurance or something like that. A lot of people don't know the true cost of their medication because they show their insurance card and then they pay. And they think, oh, well, my insurance doesn't cover it, and so I'm paying for it. That's not always the case. Now, I will say this, that you know, Trump signed an executive order that was supposed to lower the price for insulin, and apparently that never took effect, and Biden came in and reversed that. Since then, 2 of the 3 companies in the United States have said, you know, we're going to have a COVID relief plan where we're going to lower our cost to, I think one of them was like $30, and like the other one was still like $50 or 50% off. And it's like, wow.
Because of the pandemic, we'll let you live.
Yeah. Because you're not working right now, right, because you can't get the whole $100. We'll just take half, and we'll still make an amazing profit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's insane. Yeah. I mean, this is unfortunately, this is
never.
This is the system that has been built.
Never let a good, what is it?
Tragedy
go to waste.
Tragedy go to waste.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what it amounts to. Kind of shifting gears a little bit. We have an announcement to make, and I figure we'll go ahead and make that announcement now. I don't know. I know a lot of people are aware. I've already posted it on our Facebook page. We do have a convention coming up here for the Libertarian Party of Iowa. April
I didn't
16th
know
to
about this
17th.
because I'm not planning it.
You're not, isn't that wonderful? Aren't you happy about that, Myra?
I'm so giddy. I get to buy a package and just show up.
There you go. Exactly. We're going to have some more details coming out here in the coming days as far as ticket packages, everything along those lines. It's April 16th to 17th, which falls right after tax day on April 15th.
I don't know anybody that knows anything about taxes.
I know. And we may just have a guest coming to our convention that knows a little bit about taxes. Dan Behrman, everybody, is going to be at the LPIa convention. He's the first announced guest that we're going to have. He is going to be there at our convention. Details will be coming soon. I believe we're probably looking at the night at our social that we have on the 16th. You were there a couple years ago. You were there last year, actually, and for our debate or panel that we had. So, but as far as the actual presidential debate that we had, and then 2 years ago as well. So we're excited to have you back, Dan. Dan, are you thrilled to be coming back to the frozen tundra of Iowa?
Yes, absolutely. No, I like going to Iowa. Iowa's pretty fun. What did we do last time? We went to the shooting range last time. That was fun.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the people in Iowa are great, especially the libertarians. I guess those are most of the people I met, and a couple Uber drivers back and forth from the airport. Because, it's freezing and I travel with shorts, so I don't get out much. But Iowa's amazing. I am happy to go back to Iowa anytime. Awesome.
Well, I know we're excited to have you back here, and it's always a lot of fun. A lot of even outside of the convention, like you mentioned, going to the shooting range and everything along those lines. Libertarians, we know how to have fun when it comes to it. So I'm very excited to be able to get you back in here and be involved with the LPIa and really promote that, because, like I said. As far as the theme goes, we don't necessarily have a theme in mind as of right now, but it's a day after the tax day. So it's got to be taxation and stuff. And I have mine right back there behind me hanging up on the wall. So it's got to be that. So it's great to have you on board with that. Just kind of looking at a comment here real quick. Clayton Hadley, I'm going to give him a shout out because he's been so big in helping us out with county affiliates. He is going to be leaving the Libertarian Party of Iowa, at least leaving Iowa, maybe not leaving our hearts, but he's going to be moving to Tennessee. So, Clayton, I do want to give you a shout out. Thank you for all the help you've given us. So down in Mahaska County. So
I don't blame him one bit. I go to Tennessee too.
Yeah, Tennessee's awesome. There's a lot of great people down there. But so that's going to be coming up here. We still have about 15 minutes left. So if you guys have questions, let me know. We can go ahead and do some shout outs here. Myra, I know you had a couple topics as well to discuss, but I wanted to get that out there right now while we were talking about it, because it's exciting to have you back up here in Iowa, Dan.
Yeah, it's a shame it's not the weekend before, because I could give everybody some tips on how to not pay taxes.
We would
missed opportunity.
We will accept those tips.
Exactly.
In written form, we'll post them.
All right.
But, okay, so you're going to Texas for days. You're not just going to be there for this one event at the Capitol, which you may or may not be arrested for. I'm not guaranteeing he's not going to get arrested.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get arrested. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good at de-escalating. Yeah. I mean, so if you can we set up a gambling pool on this?
Ooh.
Like,
there we go.
Gambling is legal in Iowa now.
Can we? Oh well, yeah. So we won't do it in Iowa. We'll do it in Texas.
No, it is. It is legal.
But I want to do it. I want to do it to break the law.
Exactly.
Like, it's not fun if it's legal.
It's not fun if it's legal.
It's no, but that would actually be great. Like, have a gambling pool on whether or not I'm going to get arrested as a fundraiser for the campaign and for bail money or bail money.
Why? Well, I don't know why you didn't come up with this sooner.
You didn't give me the idea sooner.
So what else are you doing? Tell us about your itinerary. Where are you going to be? How can we help you?
I'm going to be going through San Antonio, McAllen, of course, at the border, or FAR as they call it. Or both. I mean, they're right next to each other. Driving all the way through to San Antonio, to Austin, to Dallas and Fort Worth, and to Houston. We're just doing a nice little tour, going around, shaking hands and kissing babies and that sort of thing. And I know I'll be honest, I'm probably going to be kissing puppies, because that's more my thing. But yeah, to meet some people that I haven't seen in a while, that have been supporting my campaigns over the years, and do a little bit of fundraising, do a little bit of outreach, anything we can to start to raise awareness. And we're starting with this rally for free healthcare, and free healthcare is going to be kind of one of the issues that we're going to kick off the campaign with. But we have a lot of really amazing plans for Texas that we're going to start to branch off to, where we want to have a rent-free Texas, which means every Texan should own their home. Nobody should be burning money on rent, especially not that government rent called property tax. And I think this shows really a great way that we're not just trying to kick the poor to the curb, which a lot of people think about libertarians. We do want everybody to be financially solvent, and I see the biggest problems keeping people from owning their own homes are actually the government. So this is just another issue. We're going to kick the ATF and the IRS out of Texas. They don't belong there. And the TSA as well. We're going to make sure we have private security in all the airports and no TSA. So little things like that, and ICE. Oh yeah, we're gonna, yeah. If I have to, I will build my own bridge that is not controlled by the federal government, so that people can go back and forth from Mexico, in accordance with Texas rules, because they're not going into the United States; they're going into Texas. A lot of people. This is an interesting thing. A lot of people don't understand. They think the United States is all of the states combined, but the way various laws are written in different places, it's actually not that at all. A lot of laws, when they say the United States, they refer to Washington, D.C. and territories like Guam and Puerto Rico. It does not include the states themselves, and that's as per the definition in the law itself. There's also some really interesting stuff as far as what did the 9th and the 10th Amendment say? And we're really going to hold strong to that, because the federal government does have a lot of limitations on it. And if the states weren't just bowing to like their every request, they would not be getting away with a lot of stuff that they're doing. So we're going to end the drug war in Texas. Getting rid of the DEA is another one. That's not constitutional for them to operate in that capacity, and we're not going to let it happen. And the states actually have the capacity where if a federal agent comes to your state and they do something that's a crime, they can be arrested and charged. So they don't have special powers. They're not above the state law in any way. And this is something that, we need to start to exercise. And I think once we start to push back and show other states that this is how it's done, and this is how we stand up for ourselves as states, I think a lot of people in other states are gonna see this example, and they're gonna say, yeah, we want that here too. And that's really gonna kind of kick the ball going for liberty and freedom, I think.
Wonderful. No, I think that would be fantastic. And quite frankly, I think a lot of those other campaigns and states should be following suit, because in the end, it's about bringing people, we the people back, getting the power back to us is what it comes down to. So just real quick, a couple other headlines I wanted to bring up. The impeachment trial. I don't know if you've been following a lot of that circus that's been going on right now. Do you have any thoughts as far as the impeachment trial that's been happening in the last couple of days? Yeah,
I think it's a total waste of time. I mean, so there's two things. I heard one great explanation today that there is a process called disqualification. If they wanted to disqualify him from sitting in an office again, they could disqualify him, which is separate from an impeachment. They want to go for the impeachment for whatever reason. Somebody asked a great question. If if you can't impeach a president who's no longer in office, does that mean that anybody who works for government can go and murder somebody on their last day in office and then get away with it because they can't be impeached now that they're no longer in office? What we need to recognize is that impeachment is not a criminal prosecution for a crime. If you murder somebody and you're not in office, you don't need to be impeached. You need to be charged with murder and put in prison. Mm-hmm. This is completely different. Now, if they wanted to say that Trump committed an actual crime, they could charge him with a crime. He doesn't need to be impeached. They could charge him with a crime and put him in prison. The same way that, they tried to charge Julian Assange or Edward Snowden or any of these people with crimes, even when, Edward Snowden, when he's working for the government practically, or Chelsea Manning, they can do whatever they want, or they can have a criminal trial and say, this was a crime, you're going to jail. We have to understand that, but we also have to understand that what a lot of this stuff that goes on in government, they don't want to prosecute it as crime, because as soon as you start prosecuting politicians with crimes, then that means it's open season for all these other guys who are just corrupt as hell. And I mean, that's kind of the big secret, right? It's like, yeah, we're not gonna like, as much as the Democrats and Republicans hate each other, you never really see them prosecuting each other for their crimes to like put them in prison unless they go like way too far overboard. And a lot of it, I'm going to put my conspiracy theory hat on for a second, which I know is more than, it's more than theory. I know there's a lot of fact to this from people who I know who know people who are like very into systems and know what's going on. But there are people who are being who have committed crimes, whether it's sex with minors, child trafficking, all these other things, who work for the government, and that is the leverage that is used over them to make sure that their decisions as judges go in accordance with whoever's pulling their strings. This stuff really does exist. And, if they were to actually just prosecute the judge and put him in prison, well, now they don't have a judge that they can control. So, there's a certain, and the people who are holding this information, they probably are the ones who trafficked the kids and set them up and got the pictures and like all this other stuff. So, everybody's kind of involved in this, and I don't want to go too crazy Pizzagate or anything, but, and I don't want to say it's everybody, but that stuff does exist. And, it's interesting that criminals kind of protect their own. I mean, even back in the day when I was a drug dealer, Myra's like, I wasn't a big time drug dealer. I was just selling weed to my friends for the most part, but it was still a felony. I knew other people who were drug dealers, and, stuff would happen. People would rob each other, every now and then, but nobody goes to the police to say, oh, and yeah, I know how stupid that sounds. He stole my weed. Oh, so you were selling weed, so you're going to jail too. No, there are other things that anyone could have said, but there's kind of like that honor among thieves, I guess. And I think this is absolutely what's going on in the government, and why we have so much corruption, and it just stays, and no one ever shines a light on it, because the people who could shine a light on it, they don't want the consequences coming back in their direction.
Well, I think that at the end of the day, if they really wanted to put Trump away, they would. Just like if Trump really wanted to put Hillary away, he would have. Right? Like,
well, I think
we have court systems to do those things, and impeachment is not the way to do it. That's not a criminal court case. He's not
right.
tried for a felony in an impeachment. So try him for felony action.
And I think that's part of it too. There's not always a clear case to win. And sometimes they know that, so they'd rather just drag someone through the dirt. Like, they might even know, like, oh, well, we're never going to win, but we're going to make his life hell for the next 2 years. That might be it. But
it's going to cost everybody else a whole lot of money.
Yeah, but it's not their money, so they don't care.
Sure.
It's our money. I know. Yeah. But I have a friend who showed up to a Trump rally, and Trump's bodyguards beat him up because they didn't like what he was saying. He wasn't committing a crime. He was just talking. And he actually sued Trump, and he's got a picture holding up his check for like 20 grand that he got from Trump over that. So like it can be done.
You can get a settlement, right?
Right. But this is and actually I think did they settle? I think they did settle on that one. But this is a clear case of something happened and there's recourse. A lot of these like political crimes about like, did Trump tell people to like go charge the Capitol? Like that would never hold up as a crime because it's so subjective. He can just say, well, I didn't intend for them to commit any violence. And what's really interesting about this too is you look at a lot of people who go to jail.
You really don't think somebody has a text message on their phone that says, go here and do this at this time?
You would need something extremely.
Somebody has that text message.
But going somewhere and doing something is not a crime. Unless it's like go somewhere and like break somebody's legs.
Somebody has that text message.
Really?
You know they do.
Okay.
It's got to be Giuliani or somebody at
you
least out there has to have something, you know?
Okay, so we're okay. If somebody
I
has
know
something like that,
conspiracy aspect here, but
yeah, no, I mean like that's the thing, and like I've seen some weird shit too. Like I've seen some guy that says like, oh my god, I have the most amazing information on Hillary, and I'm gonna wait for a week to release it. If I show up dead, you know why? And it's like, well, why don't you just release it now, idiot? Like, just release it. Like, what are you trying to do? And like I know there's like, but it's like. Some of that stuff is so like Hillary with Benghazi, right? Like all she has to do is say like, oh, I didn't know, I was so confused. And like, and like really like when you look at like all these people that are going to prison for like possession of drugs or like murder or all this stuff. And like, especially you hear about they got the wrong person and that person's going to jail. They have extremely shitty lawyers. Like, remember that. These are the people who get I forgot to ask if I can swear on this show. These are the people who got the public defenders. These are the people who had no money to hire an actual lawyer and defend themselves. And here we're talking about Hillary Clinton, who's got like $1 trillion that she stole from us, the taxpayers. Trump, same thing. Like these people have so much money that they would like a court case would last forever. And you would always have a jury that would just hold out like, I don't know. I'm so confused. I don't even understand the evidence. We've been here for 3 years. I don't get it. Please just let us go home. Not guilty. Like that's what it's because like beyond a shadow of a doubt, if you're confused by everything, then there's kind of a lot of doubt there. I think these are some of the reasons that we don't see those types of convictions, and it really sucks because at the same time, all these innocent people are going to prison for things they didn't do with like completely subjective evidence, and it's like those are the people that should not be going to jail. These people should be going to jail. I don't know. It's a mess. Criminal justice reform.
Yeah, and honestly, he just showed Ryan's message, and for sure, we're saying the exact same thing. He has incited a riot, but I mean, the impeachment's not going to do anything. That's what we're talking about. It's criminally, he should be tried in a criminal court, not in a congressional impeachment hearing. Right.
Exactly.
That's not going to do anything for us.
No.
Yeah.
So.
Well, now we're coming up here last minute or so. I always like to do plugs. Starting off with you, Dan, as far as websites, anything you want to plug there? And what would you like to plug tonight?
Yeah. So actually tonight I would like to plug the Nug, thenugofknowledge.com. We have this really awesome CBD company. We have indoor grown chemical free hemp flower, which is high in CBD and natural terpenes. It's really amazing stuff. It looks like weed. Some people call it diet weed, but it's legal in all 50 states because the THC content is super low. We also have Delta 8 vape cartridges, which are some people say they get high, but it's not THC that is illegal. It's a slightly different molecule, so it's again legal. These people are really great chemists, and they're finding ways around. I mean, stoners are amazing innovators. They're finding ways around the drug war to get things that they want, and a lot of people are using it for medicinal purposes, therapeutic purposes, and some people just like the way it makes them feel. So that's out there. And we actually have a coupon code. Yes. Life finds a way. LPIa, if you go to nugofknowledge.com and you use the code LPIa, you will get a 10% discount. And you're also going to help the Libertarian Party of Iowa with a little donation. So head over there and check out the awesome products. And and that store is going to grow. And this is actually a libertarian venture. So this isn't just like a money-making thing. We're actually we're creating this kind of like as a movement that is going to, as we grow, we're going to work more to alert people to legislation that's coming around for full legalization, eliminating taxes on cannabis and hemp, legalizing it where it's not already legal, these sorts of things. We donate our money to places like Normal, who fights for legalization, the Free Thought Project, who fights for freedom of information, and the Innocence Project, who fights to get innocent people out of prison who are wrongfully convicted of all kinds of charges. So it's not just a store, it is a political organization, but it's not registered with the government. So it's like super awesomer.
I hear that you also provide medical marijuana to people who cannot afford it in your Compassionate Care Project.
Thank you so much, Myra, for reminding me of the Nugs and Hugs program. We absolutely do. We give hemp to people who can't afford it, who need it. They might be veterans who need it for their PTSD. They might be disabled and they need it for pain medication or anything else. That's where this is going. So, you're not buying this to turn a profit for a big corporation. You're actually giving back to your community. And if you want to participate, you can actually become an affiliate and become one of our little nug dealers. And what's awesome about this is kind of like Mary Kay, but it's more like Mary J. But it's awesome because it's totally legal. So you don't have to worry about going to jail. So
awesome. Excellent. I know you also have danforfreedom.com, and that's what your primary website, correct?
Yes, that is my campaign website. I had to drop the 2020 and the for president and all that stuff because let's face it, I'm going to be running until the day I die somewhere, some way. So this is my permanent internet residence for all of my main political ventures.
I love it. I'm
going to go ahead and do a couple quick plugs for the Libertarian Party of Iowa. Of course, we can always use people joining up. We have memberships that that you can actually get. Let me pull up the actual, find it there. LPIa.org/donate. Come out there. We're trying to do shows like this. We have our convention coming up. We can't go. We're trying to promote libertarianism all throughout Iowa, regardless of what what the other two big parties want to try to do to stop us. We are still promoting that regardless. We need your help. LPIa.org/donate. Become a member of the Libertarian Party of Iowa, dues paying member, I should say, of the Libertarian Party of Iowa. And also volunteer. We can't do it without people on the ground, creating county affiliates, going out and helping out, stumping for candidates. Speaking of that, go out there. If you want to run for office, go to myplp.org, run for office. We are looking for people that want to run here in Iowa at the local level in the 2021 city elections. Myra Matejka, you did that last year running for State House. I did it 2 years ago here in Knoxville, running for city council. Everything counts. Right now, that kind of gave me a stepping stone to go into what I'm doing right now here in Knoxville, which is planning and zoning. I was able to open my eyes a little bit and be able to find other areas that I can influence our city when it comes to liberty. So that's what I'm doing right now. Take a look at your county and your city website. See if there's any openings as far as different boards and everything to get involved and promote liberty all the way across Iowa. Dan, thank you so much for taking your time tonight. I'm glad that we can have you on here. I'm excited for April. I'm excited to get you back here in Iowa. And I'm really excited to kind of watch your campaign down in Texas and see where you go from here.
I can't wait to see this convention you're putting together, Mike Connor Jr.
Well, hey, we're working on it. We're going to get it, so. Absolutely. I'm excited as well. So, but with that said, on behalf of Dan, Taxation Seth Behrman, Myra Mateka, Chairman Mike, this is Libertarians, our Libertarian Party of Iowa's Liberty Speakeasy. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you guys again soon.
Night.